Yes, Stefan.
Stefan, okay. And Alex?
Alexander Stevenson for the defense and oversee.
You may.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the benefit of the court?
It's Daniel Kosack.
Mr. Kosack, where are you from?
Well, I currently live in Oxford, Ohio. However, I used to live here in Midlands.
Do you have any formal education?
Yes. Well, I've been a fan of animals all my life, so I went to the University of Florida and got my degree in animal sciences in 1995. From there, I worked as a zookeeper at the Cincinnati Zoo from 1995 to 2003. And in 2003, I founded the Midlands Animal Sanctuary.
What was your job title at Midlands Animal Sanctuary?
Well, I was the one running the sanctuary from 2003 to 2017, caring for animals.
And what did you do with these animals?
Well, we had over 65 different exotic animals, ones that had been abused or abandoned or needed a better home, things like that. So we cared for them at the sanctuary, and we also trained some of the animals for educational purposes and to bring in donations.
What kind of animals did you train?
Well, in my whole career, I've trained over a dozen animals. However, at the sanctuary, there were 4 that were ready for performances. There was Sunny the Bengal tiger cub, Molly the ostrich, Pete the cockatoo, and of course, Elias the chimpanzee.
Can you tell us a little bit about Elias?
Yes. Elias was probably the best animal I had ever trained. His family was shot by poachers in Uganda, and he was moved to a separate animal sanctuary. I got him in 2013, and from that, he was probably the best animal companion I've ever had since Randy Savage, the golden retriever that I had as a kid.
Because going off of your training that you discussed, Mr. Kosack, what exactly does your training entail?
Well, it's a very interesting process. When I need to train an animal to do a trick, so say I want it to nod, I'll get the animal to mimic myself nodding, use a clicker to let it know that it did something good, make a little noise, and then reward it with food. This is positive reinforcement, and initially I would reward the animal with food every time they completed a trick, continuous reinforcement, and then eventually transition to fixed ratio reinforcement, where I'd give them a treat or food every 4th time they completed a trick.
What forms of media did Elias perform on?
Elias had performed on over 18 different television shows, 6 or 7 of which had a live audience, as well as he had cameo appearances in 2 movies, Tuesday the 17th, the critically acclaimed sequel to Bedtime for Bonzo, and Underwater Chips 10. He also had appeared in several educational YouTube videos.
Were there any incidents on any of these shows?
There was one incident on the Byron Fellows Safari Trip television show. What happened is the host had not read the guidelines and began to provoke Elias while we were on the stage. Elias went into what classified as a startle reaction, and it took me about 15 minutes to calm Elias down, the normal time it takes to calm down a startled animal. And because I was there, I was able to get Elias calmed down and no violence came of the incident.
Objection, Your Honor, to Mr. Kosack stating that 15 minutes is the normal amount required to calm down a startled animal. He doesn't have sufficient expertise to make that statement.
Your Honor, if I may, Danny Kosack has spent years with Elias, and if anybody knows how long it takes to calm Elias down, and with all the animals that he has trained to calm them down, it's Danny Kosack.
Okay, with most of these objections, they can almost always be solved with laying a little bit more of a foundation. If you want to rephrase your question and ask him that, based on your experience and education, is that, an unusual amount of time, you know what I mean? But for him to just blurt it out without a foundation, is, so I'll sustain the objection, but invite you to rephrase the question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kosack, based off of your time with Elias and your experience with training animals, is about 15 minutes approximately the average time that it takes to calm down a startled chimp?
Yes, for most of my animals that I've trained, if on the rare occasion they were startled, 15 minutes is the normal time to calm them down. And because I was there to calm Elias down in that incident, no violence came of it.
Use the same techniques every time to calm down a startled chimpanzee or a startled animal in general?
Well, yes, on the rare occasion that one of my animals or Elias would go into a startle reaction, I use the same methods to calm them down, and they've always been successful.
Has Elias performed at any shows recently?
Elias was scheduled to perform on Midlands After Dark with Alex Grace during the summer of 2017.
And how did you come to be on the show?
Well, I had emailed Alex Grace about appearing on the show, and he didn't get back to me until the spring of 2017. From there, I went into a correspondence with Jamison Clark, and we eventually settled on the date, June 29th, all of us. And from there, I was to appear on the show, June 29th, 2017.
Did you use your same training techniques that you discussed earlier for this show?
Yes, I used the same positive reinforcement training techniques, the same distraction training techniques, and the exception being that we didn't transition to the fixed ratio positive reinforcement, but I was confident that Elias was fully trained to appear on the show.
Why did you not transition?
Well, there was somewhat of a time limit between when we began training and when appearing on the show. However, we ended up getting all the movements that I had planned him to appear on the show. At that point, he was ready to perform with those.
So what happened when you arrived on Midlands After Dark?
Well, on the date, I arrived around 11 a.m. and brought Elias into his dressing room in his cage. From that point, I got into a conversation with Miss Alex Grace, the host of the show. I observed that she was slurring her words and reeked of alcohol. And we talked about the trick that would be on the show.
And what exactly did you guys discuss?
Well, we discussed the trick, which would be Elias would sit on the stage with Alex Grace, and I would be off to the side giving Elias hand signals, and Elias would be responding to Alex's interview question. So it would be like she's giving the chimpanzee a mock interview. It was also brought up about some scratch marks that were on my arm.
Well, how did you respond to this question?
It really wasn't a big deal. I brushed it off. When you work with animals, these kinds of injuries are commonplace. What had happened was I was putting Elias back in his cage, and he had reached out towards one of the toys he liked, a ball, and it nicked me on the arm.
What else did you guys discuss, if anything?
Well, later into the conversation, Miss Grace starts telling me that we need to spice up the routine and begin suggesting things like having Elias sit on her lap or trying to provoke Elias a la the safari trip show.
How was your reaction?
I was shocked. I was stunned at the stupidity of trying to provoke a wild animal. And I said in no uncertain terms, should you touch Elias or provoke Elias at any point? And Miss Grace says, we have to get the chimpanzee to do more than just nod, and storms off at that point.
What happened after this, Mr. Kosack?
Well, I had gone back to the dressing room for a while, and eventually an intern came and told me that we were appearing on the show. I asked the intern about time to let Elias explore the set that he would be performing on in order to accumulate, and he said we didn't have time for that.
So, Mr. Kosack, given that Elias did not have time to acclimate, given that Alex Grace, in your own words, exhibited stupidity, why did you not pack your bags and go out?
Well, when we had appeared on the set, Alex looked better, so at that point we were confident, and Elias had also been on several sets similar to the Midland set, so he was accustomed to that. But beyond that, I was confident that even in the rare chance that Elias went into a startled reaction, I was there to calm Elias down. No violence would come of it, like no violence came of it before.
So what happened when you got to rehearsal?
Well, the rehearsal started out fine. Alex looked better and had a brief interview with me, and then